joined by the Big 12 Commissioner himself, Brett Yormark, joins us on SicEm 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Perfect timing. Thank you very much. How's your day been?
Thrilled to be here. My day's been great. Immersing myself into the environment. Been here obviously since early this morning and meeting a lot of people that I've spoken to on the phone and putting names to faces. But it's been a great first day in front of the whole community here, the Big 12 community. So humbled to be in the new role. Obviously I don't start officially till August 1, but I've jumped in pretty aggressively over the last couple of weeks and got a lot to learn, but excited about the future.
It's like your hair on fire for like the last couple of weeks. You were kind of maybe a transition, but whoop, you got to jump out of the plane.
No, you're absolutely right. But you know what? Sometimes that's the best way to get acclimated. And where there's challenges, I always see opportunities. And the key stakeholder groups here have been fantastic. You know, working so closely with the ADs and the presidents and getting to know everyone and the role they play. And everyone's been extremely supportive. And what I said earlier today, there seems to be just this unified approach to where we're going amongst, the member institutions. And I saw it at the board meeting when I met the board and I was going through the interview process. But now I'm really experiencing it and feeling really good about the future. So as we think about where we go next, it's nice to know that everything we consider is truly going to be additive to what we have today. And the current commissioner, Bob, has done an incredible job laying a wonderful foundation. And we're in a good place right now. And I feel really good about it. So he's passing the baton to me, and my job is to make sure I don't drop it.
I know you mentioned in a little side conversation earlier after you'd done your press conference, a bunch of reporters had gathered around. You mentioned this got the ball rolling. I guess Turnkey had brought up the opportunity, and you had said, like, hey, if there's opportunities I might be interested in. Had college commissioner been a specific idea in your mind before, or was it just kind of under an umbrella of ideas that you would have liked to have explored?
As I mentioned earlier, I always had a progression ladder that I kind of visualized for my career and the different steps that I would take to ultimately get to where I want to go. And being an AD was something I have referenced many times throughout my career, not knowing when or where. So when the opportunity came about by Turnkey to say, hey, Brett, it's not an AD role, it's a commissioner role, and they outlined it, it piqued my interest. And then after the first engagement with the search committee, I felt very comfortable. But at that point in time, I wasn't sure that whether they were going to pivot away from the traditional and look at something maybe a little different. Obviously, my candidacy was, quite a bit different than maybe others. So, but as I learned more about them and where they wanted to take this thing, I realized that they were looking for a new, fresh approach. And, that's certainly something that I'm going to bring to the role. And I do think many of my skills are transferable based on where I've been. And I'm just excited to be part of it and to see what I can do.
There was a quote from you, and I've read up on you, because I got to honestly tell you, when I saw your name pop up, I had to start going, like how many people had to go to Google. And that's with all due respect.
Yeah, of
what
course.
You've done business-wise, sure, with Rock Nation and other things, NASCAR, that came up immediately. Make dreams come true is something that you've said is important to you.
Yes.
Is that something that goes full center even with the Big 12 Conference?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I dream big. I dare to fail. We're going to dream big here for sure. Why not? I think we should be as aspirational as we want to be as far as where we want to go. And wherever I've been, I've always been in a position where I was a bit of a dreamer. A lot of people said we wouldn't get to Brooklyn from New Jersey. We wouldn't build Barclays Center. We were able to get it done. A lot of people said we couldn't contemporize and take NASCAR out of its kind of original roots and nationalize, the sport and bring it to new and emerging markets. We were able to do that. So when I think about this opportunity, yeah, we're going to dream big. We're going to do things differently. We're going to try to be bold but humble at the same time. We'll be aggressive, thoughtful, innovative, creative. I'm excited.
Would you have taken this job had USC, UCLA happened before you accepted?
I mean, it's a great question, but I don't know if, I would probably have been more naive to the situation, not understanding fully like I do today what the ramifications are. So I'm not sure it would have been a deterrent at all. So I guess to answer the question, I probably would have taken the job. I don't think it would have, changed, the direction that I was heading in.
What I remember when you were announced, and I was thinking, okay, what are the connections here? And then I had somebody quickly, say like, hey, Matt Rule at Baylor wasn't a Baylor guy. He wasn't a Texas guy. He came in, though, from outside, the outsider, so to speak, and didn't have a lot of connections. You do have some connections to the Big 12 and geography and things like that, but do you think that as big of a part of what you're going to do initially is getting to know the landscape, or are you just planning on flipping the landscape and that's not going to be as important to fall back on what's kind of always been customary around these parts, so to speak?
When you mean landscape?
Like just the Midwest, the geography, kind of the culture of the Big 12 currently.
Well, listen, I think we're going to look to do things differently, but I think at the same time we will respect and preserve the integrity and the traditions that have made the Big 12 what it is today. I think there's a balance there. You can contemporize while also paying tribute to where you've come from. And I've certainly done that in many places I've been before. So I don't think it's going to be any different here.
Brett, can you try to explain what those discussions are like when you do talk to TV networks about whatever sport it might be? How long is that? Like a long process, or is that something where you're on the speakerphone, or you're in person, you're on Zoom or whatever? How does that go about? Because we're talking about lots and lots of money.
You're talking about it as it relates to negotiating a new TV deal?
Yes, sir.
I think it starts. I mean, in reality, it starts now. I mean, I said before we have 3 years, but circling the wagons, meeting all the right players, engaging with them, understanding their goals and objectives, what they're looking for in partnership and how they define it. All those things are done in advance of really getting to the table. I guess you could say you date a lot, right, before you get to the table and you really have a meaningful negotiation. That's how I've always done it. I do a ton of intelligence gathering in everything I do. And as it relates to the TV deal, I'll be doing a lot of that. I'll be meeting with all the obvious suspects, maybe some of the new and emerging platforms, trying to understand where they want to go and how they want to do it. So by the time we're ready to sit down, I'll know exactly where I need to be and who I need to be in front of and how we get a deal done. So that legwork really starts now.
You know where the money is?
Do I know where the money is?
Yeah.
I know where the money is.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's not an issue for me. And, and that's part of the vetting out process now. Who has the wherewithal, the bandwidth, the financial resources to make the kind of commitment we're looking for. And I'll be doing a lot of that due diligence well in advance of before we sit at the table.
After you wrapped up your press conference earlier, I was flicking around on social media looking through, and if there was a complaint of any kind about what you had to say, it was the one comment about not so much paying attention to what other people are doing. I guess the feeling being that you kind of need to know what else is going on around you. Not that you have to clarify that comment, but can you kind of talk about not needing to feel like you need to know sort of what's going on the outside of the Big 12, or what your focus is?
Well, and I will clarify that. I'm a firm believer in doing a lot of intelligence gathering and knowing who's doing what, when, and how. But that's not driving my decision. What's driving my decision is what's in the best interest of the Big 12. I mean, when I was in Brooklyn, people used to say, Brett, don't worry about the guard. Just be the best you can be in Brooklyn. And if you do all the right things, you'll build something quite special there. And we did. In a very short period of time, we became a venue that was destinational for all forms of content. We became global. And it truly didn't matter to me what the Garden was doing. I was aware of what they were doing, but it wasn't driving my decision-making. So as I think about the Big 12, obviously I'm engaging with all the different commissioners and doing a lot of fact-finding and intelligence gathering. But ultimately, where we go is what's in the best interest of this conference. And it's not dictated by anything else.
And I took it that way, but I know that it can be taken different ways, so I'm glad to hear you clarify that a little bit. Yeah, because some people are trying to take it as, well, what do you mean you don't know what's going on around you? And of course, that makes all the sense.
Well, and one of the things of the Texas OU thing, and there's anger, bitterness, lack of trust, and yet again also go. But yet those who are remaining in the Big 12 deserve something before they go. the win-win situation, and then you followed up by saying, but what is in the best interest of the conference? You're not going to just let them walk out the door.
No, but I'm a firm believer in trying to get to a place where it's a win-win for everyone, okay? Their win is probably they want to go,
right?
Whether it's now or in 2025. And, at the point in time where they reach out to me, I mean, listen, as I said earlier, they were a part of the search process. They were in the room as part of a board members. And when we're doing AD calls, they're part of those calls, and they've been very gracious to me and very welcoming. But at the point in time where they want to have a discussion, I'll be ready, and I'll be all ears. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do, obviously, what's in the best interest of the conference.
Have you spoken with ESPN about anything with the grant of rights, the Big 12 current contract, anything like that? Have you even got to that point?
I speak to ESPN and Fox, if not daily, every other day on various issues. So to answer your question, yes, I am fully engaged with ESPN and Fox.
So they know your personality too, right? They know that you're not just going to – they know Brett Yormark's bringing –
Well, they've known me. They've known me for years.
Yeah.
Eric Shanks is a dear friend.
Yep.
In fact, he was quoted in
yes, he was.
the press release, and Burke Magnus and I have worked together for years, and obviously we hosted a lot of basketball games that ESPN distributed at Barclays Center. So I know the players, and I've got great access to them when I need them, and they know they can call me too. And sometimes the call might be for 5 minutes, sometimes it's 20 minutes, but we are fully engaged.
Speaking of engaged, Linda Livingstone, Baylor president, we covered the Bears, and she was up there helping introduce you along with Bob Bowlesby. What have your interactions been like with President Livingstone thus far?
She's terrific. She was part of the search committee, and got to know her, and then obviously, I interface with her and communicate with her quite often, and work very close with her, AD Mack. He's fantastic. In fact, I'm speaking to him probably 5 or 6 times a day.
We speak every Tuesday with him.
Yeah. No, I love him. He high energy.
He's supposed to be on vacation and all this.
Listen, he sent me a couple of texts, from vacations, a couple of photos, but he's balancing it well. But he is all in, and he's been so supportive of me, and really appreciate the partnership.
When you say as unified as you could imagine, that's what Bob Bowlesby said a year ago, and then, of course, 8 days later, all hell broke loose. You're talking about unified among whom? Those who will be still here, or?
When I say unified, it's the collective group of member institutions seem very aligned. They have a vision for where they want to go, and it's very consistent, throughout the room. And I've experienced that more than once, not only during the interview process, but in the conversations I've had since. And that I also get the same feeling from the ADs.
There's a lot. Social media, it seems like people think everything on social media is true. Have you guys offered anybody to come join the conference?
No. Nope. Not something we would do at this point in time. We're vetting out all possibilities and options, and at the right time, when it's appropriate, I'm sure we'll vet through those options and make a determination what's in the best interest of the conference. But have we made anything official? No.
You knew how good this conference might be when you took the job and the challenges. Do you feel like it's stronger than you thought, even with the news?
I do. Obviously I'm a college football and basketball fan and knew enough about the conference, but as I've done further due diligence, as I prepared myself, for the opportunity to be the commissioner, I did more due diligence and asked a lot of questions. I felt good about where the conference is today, and now that I'm here, I think there's even more upside moving forward. I think there's a lot of potential.
If you had to negotiate with you, who would win?
I don't know. I mean, listen, who knows? But I like the art of a deal. I really do. I love negotiation. I love being transactional. And I think there'll be a part of this role that's going to afford me the opportunity to do just that. And this game of chess that called Realignment and Expansion, I'm enjoying, just because it's exciting, and you're trying to identify who's going where and how they're doing it, and it's no different than the other things I've done in my career.
I sell sponsorships. This is what I do. I talk show, but I sell sponsorships because it's who can sell you better than you, right? And there's a high when you get a sponsor or when someone believes in you enough to buy what you do. Is that what you get as well when you're doing deals?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of satisfaction from it. I enjoy that. Because, as you know, the art of selling is convincing something they need something that they didn't know they did.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a real art to that. And when you can accomplish that at the highest levels, it's a great rush. It's incredible.
Have you dealt yet with the Barclays about hosting the Big 12 men's basketball tournament?
Well, it's so funny you should ask that.
No, okay. I thought about that.
Just for the sake of asking recently, I was on a conversation with them, and I said, guys, listen, just out of curiosity, when is the ACC Atlantic 10 rotation over? Not that, I'd considered anything, but I was just asking the question, generally speaking. And they didn't give me an answer yet. There's a lot of new people working over there. They weren't aware of when that deal ends. But you've just, the conference just extended their deal, as you know, in Kansas City. And
right.
From what I understand, it's a great host market. I'm really looking forward to being there this year. So I think it's in a great place.
Appreciate you. You hit the door. You really, truly were thrown out of like a plane with a parachute, maybe.
No, listen, it's been great. I'm thrilled to be a part of it. I want to be a resource for both of you, too. So if you need something, you let me know.
We appreciate
Absolutely.
it, Brett. Thank you very much for your time. Brett
Thank you
Yormark,
so much.
again, Big 12 Commissioner with us at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. COM 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to